All right. So if you're thinking ahead a little bit, you're trying to figure out just where you're going to stand economically. Perhaps you are the person in your family that's in charge of the household finances. It's never, a bad idea to consider some new perspectives. If you click on to coasttocoastam.com, it'll take you through to the international forecaster. Bob Chapman will also take your calls here. We're talking about some of the things that you can do to prepare for where we just might end up. And also the stories in the news we still haven't gotten back to about what Bob thinks are not good signs that you can pretty much bank on sometime here in the next 3 or 4 months. Some of the disasters that might still be ahead, we'll get to those coming up on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. Back to the phones for Bob Chapman, the international forecaster. Gabriel is in El Paso, Texas. Gabriel?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Thank you for taking my call. I have 2 quick questions, if time permits.
As long as they're quick, sure.
Okay. The first one is that different segments of the economy are going to be affected worse than others. So for those of us who want to ride out the storm here in America, in what segments of the economy should we seek employment?
Bob?
I think that that's a very, very difficult question because everybody's laying off, and that's the way they're achieving their earnings. And, of course, that has a law of diminishing returns. But I would think that technology is probably the best place to go. And I've noticed that biotechnology is done very well if you can fit into that area. I think basic industries such as food, I think would be a good place, although historically it's not been a place where you can make a high salary. But I see a diminution of use of service jobs, and but that comes at the middle to lower area of the economy as far as employment's concerned. But that area really hasn't gotten hit hard. Most of the area that's gets hit the hardest is in manufacturing, and mainly because of free trade and globalization. And so it's hard.
Okay. I'll give you a little bit more on that. Hang on, just because U.S. News and World Report put out a list not long ago. Recently, MSN put one on their website too. So I would encourage you, Gabriel, to go in and Google that. But I think you'll find, like, in the top 10, I think this is the top 10 according of career choices for 2009. Ready? Okay. Audiologist, biomedical equipment technician, clergy, curriculum training specialist, engineer, firefighter, fundraiser, genetic counselor, ghostwriter, and government manager.
I fit into one of those.
Do you? Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad at least you're heading in the right direction. And then your other question.
Yes, we in my family we have heard the rumor that we're going to have severe inflation, possibly hyperinflation, followed by deflation. If either of you agree with this scenario, do you have a timeline that you might think it'll happen?
Yeah, Bob's the guy for that. Bob?
The answer is yes. The timeline is it began in May, hyperinflation, and it'll slowly start to evolve. The reason for the slowness is that the monetization that is taking place is of a nature which we haven't seen before. Monetization is when the Federal Reserve creates money out of thin air. Now, between February, March, and the end of the fiscal year, which is the 30th of September, the government asked the Federal Reserve to go into the markets and purchase Treasury securities of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, both of which become monetized immediately. The third element, where most of the money is going to be spent out of the $2 trillion, is in the purchase from banks of collateralized debt obligations. And when the banks receive the money, what they're doing with it is they're not lending it. If you noticed in the first quarter, loans were down 1%. In the second quarter, they were down 2.8%. Now, The banks are holding this on the balance sheet. A lot of it is deposited with the Fed, and some of it is being used to buy Treasury paper. That has not been monetized, and until they start lending that money, it won't get monetized, but it will sooner or later. So the answer to your question is, as soon as the banks start lending again, you can believe inflation's going to go bonkers.
Okay. That was one of the questions I was going to ask you at the bottom of the hour, and so thank you for working that in. Let's get to Holly in Texas City, Texas, on Coast to Coast AM for Bob Chapman. Holly?
Good evening.
Evening.
Just wanted to ask, with everything just being rampant political and banking collusion, really we kind of like sitting ducks here. We can't take this to the World Bank because or not the World Bank, but the World Court, because obviously the Supreme Court's not going to hear a case if it's on behalf of the American people. Also, it sounds like we need to move back out to the country and be self-sufficient and have the same multi-generational households there were back in the other depression. And then telling us to buy gold and silver, isn't it true that the government was going door to door and confiscating people's gold in the last depression? And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Yeah, but that was a while ago. But, yeah, go ahead. Bob?
Well, first of all, they didn't go door to door, but they did go to safe deposit boxes. And 75% of the people did not turn their gold in, and that's not widely known. I don't see a continuation of such legislation, although government can do anything they want, particularly under executive order. So don't put it past them to do anything they want. Less than 5% of Americans own gold and silver. Silver's not a monetary metal and hasn't been for a long time, so gold is what we're talking about. And the chances of them doing that, I think, are very small because Americans just don't own enough gold. I mean, during the 20s and 30s, people walked around with gold coins in their pocket. They don't do that anymore. There's the desire to have gold in one's immediate possession is not there anymore because the world has changed somewhat.
Okay, but I got to ask, what about silver, though? I mean, I've heard people say that that's even in a better position than gold. It hasn't seen the huge spike in value like gold already has. No?
Well, silver went from approximately $4 an ounce to a high of around $20. It's down around just under 14 right now, and gold has gone from a low of 252 to a high of 1030, currently around 952, I think it is. And so, consequently, they've both done well. People talk about demand and supply in both metals. It's hard to get a handle on because both metals have large amounts of investment. And so you never know when investment's going to come back on the market as a seller. But they're both good.
Okay.
And I recommend that people buy both of them,
right,
whether it's in the shares or in the coins.
Ryan is a first-time caller in Las Vegas on Coast to Coast for international forecaster Bob Chapman. Ryan?
Well, I got two questions for you guys. First of all, Bob, what advice do you have for people like myself and millions of other Americans out there who are paycheck to paycheck that can't afford to invest in gold? And my second question would be, do you see a possibility of the dollar dissolving and them going to something like an Amero?
Okay. The first part of it is as far as the people who don't have money to invest, period. The most important thing is you have to look at the fact that you may get laid off. If you get laid off, you may lose your home. If you get laid off, you may lose your vehicles. And God forbid, you may end up under a bridge. One of the ways you can protect yourself is buying extra food, and if you want dehydrated, freeze-dried foods, and that's a way at least you're going to be able to eat if you've lost your job, even if you have to carry the food out of the house that you lose. But the point is, having food, at least you can sustain yourself. I think that's very important. A lot of people are getting water filters as well because they feel that there could be more disruption within the economy. And so that's some of the things you could do. As far as and the second part of the question was about the dollar, correct?
Yeah, would the dollar dissolve?